We are so proud of the work we've done in these first 100 days, and we are committed to working every day to make this office stronger, to hold violent offenders accountable and give victims a voice.
A new era taking shape in the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office. It's been a few months now since Melissa Price Smith took over as the county's top attorney, replacing now Congressman Wesley Bell. Following this first major milestone, I got a chance to sit down with Melissa Price Smith to talk about some of the efforts ongoing in her office to help keep you and your family safe. You've been in office now for the last 100 days, a few more than that. We were just doing the math on that. You also today had a press conference announcing some new hires, 3 of them from the U.S. Attorney's Office, some new departments. Kind of walk me through what all of that looks like and how we got here over the last 100 days.
Well, we are so proud of our first 100 days, and it has been a group effort. It's the attorneys, the victim advocates, support staff, investigators, law enforcement, and the community working in partnership, all of us together. And I will tell you, the first 100 days have been incredible, but we are committed every day going forward to continue to work very, very hard to strengthen the office and hold violent offenders accountable. We have done some great things. We reinstated our violent crime unit on day 1 that I was sworn in. It is run by a veteran prosecutor, so the violent offenses can be reviewed in real time. Charging decisions can be made immediately instead of having any delay at all, and it gets those violent offenders off the streets. We actually have issued 138 cases from our violent crime unit since January 3rd.
That's incredible to think about how you're able to do that. Talk me through some of the other positions, too, that you were able to put in place in those resources and how that helps ultimately with prosecuting cases.
We have brought in 3 veteran assistant U.S. attorneys to our office from the U.S. Attorney's Office. The first being Mike Riley, 32 years experience as a prosecutor. He is coming to our office to serve as our chief homicide attorney. He will run our homicide unit. The homicide unit is new. St. Louis County is too big not to have a homicide unit, so we put that in place within the first couple weeks, and Mike Riley has joined us to run that unit. We also have Carrie Costanton. She has 37 years experience, over 60 jury trials. She spent 24 years at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and she joined our office to serve as chief trial attorney. So much wisdom to share, and she's really a mentor to our entire staff. We've also recruited and hired Jerry McDonald, 15 years experience, coming from the U.S. Attorney's Office to join our homicide team. Now, these people have chosen to come to our office. They've all worked here in the past, but they've chosen to come back and really bring our office to a whole new level.
And try and make an impact back in St. Louis, of course.
They all love the office, as I do, as we do. They want to make St. Louis County a better place.
And when you're talking about January 3rd, specifically when you took over the office, I know there was that massive case backlog, some 6,000 cases that were still sitting there when you walked in the office. Talk me through how you've been able to bring those cases to court.
We had a backlog of 6,000 cases that had not been reviewed yet. So we have cut that down about 45% at this point. Doesn't mean they've all gone to court. Some have been refused, some have been issued, but they're actually getting the attention they need. They're getting processed. I am hoping by mid to late summer we will have gotten through that entire backlog. But it is the entire office really working together to get through that backlog, but also to stay current on the cases that we have and that are coming in every day.
What is the numeric number on the backlogs now?
Right now, I believe it is 3,400.
Okay, so that's a massive reduction that you've been able to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest issue crime-wise facing the county?
I personally think guns. We are taking a much stronger stance on gun cases. Any crime committed with a gun, our office is no longer offering probation, whether that be felon in possession of a firearm, shooting into a dwelling and exhibiting, any kind of crime, a robbery with a gun, any kind of crime with a gun, we are not offering probation. The hope is that will reduce the violent crimes, and that will also reduce homicides in the future. These people willing to point a gun or pull a trigger now are the ones who are our future homicide cases. We have to stop it sooner.
Okay, another case that I specifically wanted to ask about was involving Yahya Malley, the gentleman that has been charged multiple times for sexual assault involving multiple women. Talk to me about that case and how common those are in St. Louis County and what it takes to prosecute those, and largely the reliant on the victim or the victims to come forward.
Yes, we are relying on the victims to come forward. And I will say this every time I get the opportunity. Once a victim discloses, they are no longer anybody's victim. Disclosure leads to healing, and we want to get that message out. In that case, these were brave, brave young women who came forward. These type of cases are very sensitive.
Yeah.
Victims are hesitant to come forward because it's very personal. But every time a victim comes forward and realizes the power of their voice, like I said, they are no longer anyone's victim. In this case of Yahya Mali, I believe there are 19 charges, multiple victims. I spent a lot of years in this office on our sexual assault and child abuse team. So I feel very strongly about these cases. And some of the strongest people I've ever met are the victims on these cases, and they are the ones who inspire me to do this job every single day.
And those cases, how common do they happen?
Way too common. This case did start with some online dating apps. So many cases start that way, and I'm not knocking those dating apps. I know people have.
There are safe ways to do it.
There are safe ways to do it. A lot of people get happiness from there, but we have so many cases, whether it be this type of case or even child cases that start, whether it's on a dating app or even just anything online. You just have to be careful.
Do you feel like there's also a bit of responsibility to kind of encourage these victims to come forward in a way to make it seem okay and comfortable for other people to come forward so that we're taking these offenders off the street?
Absolutely. We want these victims to know that they are safe with us. When a victim comes forward, it is not that victim going through the process alone against the offender. We surround them with a team and we empower them to get through the justice system. It doesn't mean it's easy, but that's where the healing happens once disclosure occurs, because the victims do have to participate in this process. But every time we talk about a case and encourage victims to come forward, when other victims do step up and realize that it's a safe place to do that, that's why we're here.
And that's happened in the Yahya Mali case.
Absolutely. And in several cases over the last 100 days that other people have stepped forward.
And talking about working with the community too, how does that work with St. Louis City and trying to, because obviously crime does not understand the imaginary boundary between the city and the county. It crosses boundaries, of course. So how do you work with Prosecutor Gabe Gore here in the city to prosecute those crimes?
You're absolutely right. The criminals who commit the crimes in the city are the same ones who commit the crimes in the county, and they don't see the imaginary line. So I work very closely with Gabe Gore. We've spoken on several occasions. We talk about what works in his office, what works in our office, what doesn't. We give each other ideas, spoken to prosecutors in other counties as well. And I think as we continue to work together as prosecutors' offices in partnership with law enforcement, that's the only way to make St. Louis County safer.
And that makes the entire region safer, ultimately.
Absolutely.
It has to be a region-wide approach.
Absolutely, it does.
Price Smith says in the next 100 days she is focused on community outreach. Her office already spends time with community groups and with area high schoolers to talk crime and consequences, along with issues they see important to solve. Let's get you a live look at the St. Peter's Square